4.
Once again, Tibbs trying his luck with the overhand right, and Tonks just inside it. Again, a little word from referee Tony Walker about use of the head. It's another good learning fight, this one, for Tibbs.
Tonks is pulling a few faces now. I don't know, maybe if he's just losing his desire a little bit. He was pulling some faces after that good right hand from Tibbs. Maybe if Tibbs steps up the pace here, puts some punches together, he might get him out of there.
Just 2-minute rounds, these. Tibbs only 19. And the pace might just be starting to tell a bit on his opponent. Although he shakes his head, and he'll be glad the stool's right behind him for him to flop on, Shane Tonks. Tonks, is he getting a bit dispirited there? Just a couple of rounds to go. He's certainly behind on points. Little smile from him, though, so he's still quite happy to be there. And Tibbs, who had a good third round, couldn't quite sustain the pace and the pressure in this fourth round. But there was a definite period as the heads went together there a bit when Tonks was starting to look a bit dispirited. And those were Tibbs' best moments from this fourth round. Good piece of action now. They might just be trying to stir him for a little flourish in the last couple of rounds. Fifth round then, looking at the super featherweights, around about the 9'4", 9'6" mark, although Shane Tonks has come in at a little under 10 stone, and that's quite a sizable weight advantage to have at this level. Tibbs from West Ham, obviously the better stylist, and obviously taking this game a lot more seriously. He still could have trouble against an opponent with that weight advantage. He's certainly finishing this fight pretty well, Tibbs. He's a very fit boy, hard worker. Quite a lot of reaction after his debut in Norwich, and he's getting through pretty well in this fifth round, although it's hard to look good against an awkward opponent like Tonks, and I think that's almost his last warning for use of the head. Wouldn't like to see him thrown out of this fight, though, Jim. I don't think he's used it that blatantly, do you?
No, I think that was a little bit of head and pulling Tibbs on at the same time. Just a little bit untidy. I don't think he's on the verge of being disqualified. I don't think he's been that blatant with it. I'd like now maybe to see Tonks try to drive himself forward a little bit, just to see how Tibbs would cope with that. But Tibbs has backed him up all the way through. Good performance from Tibbs so far. And
Tonks really using every inch of this Bethnal green ring to try and get away from Tibbs. Very much the hunter, Mark Tibbs, but once again he's going to go the full 6 rounds. And I like the way he finishes the round so strongly. Stern bit of pointing from Dad Jimmy. What do you think of that, Jim, having your father in the corner? Difficult for both, really, isn't it?
Yeah, but thankfully Tibbs Senior is very experienced, and he knows what's required. I suppose it must be a bit strange. Sometimes you want away from your family when you get into the boxing ring. He's taking his dad with him.
Let's just check this out, where the heads went together, and there was a bit of pulling on by Tonks as well. Yes, it was all a bit got very messy in there, and referee Tony Walker sorted it all out. Good performance though by Tonks to go the distance.
Seconds out, 6th and last round.
So last round for Mark Tibbs, only his second fight. He's been a busy fella, 2 fights in 8 days as he tries to make an impact on the professional scene. and he won the first one on points, and Shane Tonks, who was obviously behind by some distance, need to knock out one of those big right hands. Has been another difficult opponent for him, and a good learning opponent as well. Tonks a bit careless with use of the head again. And Tibbs hasn't taken any risks. He's boxed sensibly. Tonks down once, more from a slip than for a punch earlier in the fight. And he's been quite content to let the lighter Mark Tibbs chase him around the ring, hunt him, feeling that he probably couldn't hurt him because of a very sizable weight advantage. Those right hands are dangerous, and that, if there is a blatant weakness, Jim, what that is a weakness. I think that's about the third or fourth time he's been caught by those, Tibbs.
Yeah, I think he's been so firm in control that you've got to expect now and again Tonks to come back with a punch. I mean, we'll be criticising Tonks if he wasn't managing something. But Tibbs has been so much in control, maybe once or twice, just a little lapse of concentration. But it wasn't in trouble. That was a good, solid shot, and it didn't trouble Tibbs in the slightest. So that tells us something else about him.
Yes, early indications that he's got a very firm and solid chin. Just sum it up for us then, Jim, Mark Tibbs' performance.
Yeah, a good steady performance from Tibbs, rather than dramatic. Nothing really dramatic happened in the fight, but he's always been under control. Boxed well all the way through, not too many mistakes, and a clear-cut, convincing points victory.
He's okay, box on, and he's allowed to stay the course. There's only a few more seconds to survive. And I'm glad for Tonks that he stayed the distance. And good spirit at the end there between the two fighters. That's nice stuff. It's an absolutely certain points victory, of course, for Mark Tibbs, who had his arms up and was taking the applause of the crowd before the formality of referee Tony Walker going over to him. If he'd have got that knockdown 30 seconds earlier, I get the impression he might have finished the fight inside the distance as well. And as we were talking about another certain points victory, he saved a very solid couple of body shots that really hurt Shane Tonks at the end. A fine finish from Mark Tibbs, and he can be very satisfied with his first 8 days as a pro. 2 out of 2.